Jay Leno, a household name for his legendary comedy and hosting skills, recently found himself in the middle of a terrifying accident that has left fans and followers around the world deeply concerned about his health. The news of the accident spread quickly, and fans were left anxiously waiting for updates on his condition. But what exactly happened to Jay Leno? How severe was the accident? Was this just another small mishap, or was it something more serious? These questions have been lingering ever since the shocking news broke. Jay Leno's fame isn't just built on his years as the host of The Tonight Show, he's also widely known for his passion for cars and his collection of classic vehicles. His love for automobiles often finds him in situations where he's driving or testing out rare cars, and that's where things took a dangerous turn. On a regular day, while he was out working on one of his beloved cars, things took a sudden and unexpected turn for the worse. The details of the accident remain somewhat unclear, leaving a lot of room for speculation. The only information released at first was that Jay had suffered injuries and had been rushed to the hospital. What exactly caused the incident? Was it a mechanical failure? Did he lose control of the car? These questions left many wondering about the severity of his condition and how long it might take for him to recover. The lack of immediate information only added to the uncertainty surrounding the event, heightening curiosity and concern. What made the news even more shocking was the fact that Jay Leno is known for being incredibly active and in good health. He has always been the picture of vitality, known for his energetic persona on TV and his hands-on involvement with his car collection. For someone like Jay, whose life revolves around laughter, energy, and work, the thought of something as serious as an accident affecting him seemed almost unreal. Fans who admired him for his strength and humor now found themselves hoping that he would make it through this unexpected challenge. As news of the accident continued to unfold, it became clear that the situation was more complicated than it first appeared. The initial reports were vague, and the only thing confirmed was that Jay's health was being closely monitored. His supporters anxiously awaited more details, hoping to hear that he was all right and that he would recover quickly. But with each passing hour, the questions piled up. Was his condition as stable as they said? What had really happened to him? Was Jay Leno in danger of suffering long-term effects from this accident? Adding to the intrigue was the fact that Jay Leno's reputation as a risk-taker with cars gave people even more reason to be concerned. Over the years, he's done countless stunts and tests with some of the fastest and most unusual vehicles. His passion for automobiles sometimes pushes him to take on challenges that even the most experienced drivers would hesitate to try. It made people wonder, could his love for cars have led to this unexpected accident, or was it just a freak event that could happen to anyone? The moment fans first heard the news, there was a wave of disbelief. Jay Leno, in an accident. It didn't seem real. Jay was always the one making everyone else laugh and feel good, not the one involved in serious accidents. It was hard for many to wrap their heads around the idea that something like this could happen to someone so full of life, and that's when the real worry began to sink in. If Jay Leno, with all his energy, experience, and drive, could end up in such a situation, what does that mean for his future? The question that everyone seemed to be asking at that moment was simple: how bad is it? Was it just a minor injury, or was there something much more serious going on behind the scenes? The public waited in suspense, hoping for updates from his team or doctors. Was Jay Leno going to bounce back, or was this accident something that could change the course of his career and life forever? At this point, the mystery surrounding the accident only fueled more curiosity. Fans wanted to know everything: the details of the crash, how serious his injuries were, and most importantly, whether he would make a full recovery. With Jay being such a public figure, the anticipation for an update grew each day. His fans weren't just concerned about his health, they were concerned about the person behind the laughter, the man who had spent years entertaining them. The true impact of this incident, however, was far from clear. Was this just another bump in the road for Jay Leno, or was it a wake-up call that would force him to reevaluate his lifestyle? Could the accident have a lasting impact on his ability to work, or would he be back in the spotlight in no time? These questions and the uncertainty that came with them kept people on edge. The world was waiting for answers, and no one knew when they would come. This incident was more than just an accident, it was a turning point. Jay Leno's health and future now hung in the balance, and the world could only watch as things unfolded. Everyone who had ever admired Jay Leno for his contributions to comedy, television, and car culture now found themselves hoping for the best while bracing for the worst. When the news of Jay Leno's accident first broke, it was met with a mix of shock and disbelief. Jay, who is known for his unshakable sense of humor and active lifestyle, had suddenly become the subject of headlines around the world. Fans who had always seen him as larger than life were now left wondering what had happened. How serious was this accident? Was Jay Leno, the man who had entertained millions for decades, truly in danger? At first the reports were vague, leaving more questions than answers. The only information that came through was that Jay had been injured in an accident and was receiving medical care. The term stable was used to describe his condition, but that was about all the public knew. For many, the word stable did little to ease their concerns. In the world of celebrities, where the public is often kept in the dark, this kind of ambiguity only fueled people's curiosity even more. What made matters more complicated was the nature of the accident. Jay Leno's life has always revolved around cars. He's an avid car enthusiast and has spent years building an impressive collection of rare and vintage vehicles. His love for automobiles has always been a part of his public persona. He is often seen testing and driving cars, sometimes in risky situations. With his history of car stunts and his willingness to push the limits, the first reaction many had was wondering if his passion for cars had led to this accident. Was he testing a car when things went wrong? Was this another one of those daring stunts he's known for? People wanted to know the specifics. Was the accident caused by a mechanical failure? Did he lose control of a vehicle? Was there a malfunction with the car? These questions flooded social media, and every time a new update was released, it seemed like more uncertainty was added to the situation. No one knew what had really happened, and that mystery hung in the air. The fact that Jay had been in the hospital only added to the suspense. If this had been a minor incident, surely the news would have spread faster and fans would have been reassured. But the silence surrounding the incident raised suspicions. Why were there so few details? Was the accident truly as serious as it sounded, or was it just a precautionary measure for someone in his position? These questions kept people on edge, as fans anxiously awaited an official statement from his team or doctors. In the entertainment world, when something like this happens to a public figure, it's natural for the rumors to start swirling. Fans, journalists, and social media users alike began to speculate about the severity of Jay Leno's injuries. Was he just banged up, or had he sustained something more serious? The world wanted to know, but the silence from his camp only added to the sense of mystery. People were desperate for information, and yet it seemed like no one knew anything concrete. Amidst all the uncertainty, many people found themselves wondering about the larger implications of the accident. Jay Leno has always been an important figure in the world of comedy and television. His career has spanned decades, and his impact on the entertainment industry is immeasurable. As a comedian and host, Jay has brought joy to millions, and his absence would leave a significant void. The question on everyone's mind was, could this accident affect his career in ways we never imagined? Fans knew Jay to be a fighter, always bouncing back from challenges. But this was different. An accident like this could leave long-lasting effects, and the concern over his health was genuine. Could this accident change the course of his career? Could it affect his ability to continue with his passion for cars? The thought that Jay Leno might never be the same again was hard for many to digest. The man who had spent years bringing laughter and joy to audiences might now be facing the harsh reality of a life that may look very different from what he had imagined. As the hours passed with little to no information, fans began to speculate about what might be going on behind the scenes. Was Jay receiving special treatment in the hospital? Was he in more pain than anyone was letting on? The longer the silence continued, the more people began to wonder whether this accident was part of a larger story. Some feared that Jay's injuries might be so severe that his recovery would take months or even years, while others remained hopeful that it was a temporary setback. The media began to pick up on the lack of information, and it didn't take long before the pressure mounted for an official statement. Fans and the public at large were used to seeing Jay Leno in the public eye, so this sudden silence left many uneasy. It wasn't just about the accident anymore, it was about the uncertainty of what would happen next. Would Jay Leno be able to return to his regular life, or would this be the moment that changed everything for him? In the midst of the curiosity and suspense, there was an underlying feeling of concern. Jay Leno has always been larger than life, but now for the first time, fans were seeing him as vulnerable. The news of his accident was a reminder that even the most famous and seemingly invincible figures can face hardships. For a while fans held their breath, hoping that Jay Leno would come through this unscathed, and that the next update would bring relief rather than further anxiety. This was a moment that seemed to redefine Jay Leno's image in the public eye. No longer just the TV host with endless jokes and energy, he was now the subject of a real-life story, one that had people wondering whether the man who had been such an integral part of their lives would be able to recover and continue to do what he loved. The curiosity and suspense surrounding the accident only deepened as time went on. Would Jay Leno make it through this setback, or would this be the end of an era? The initial report had left more questions than answers, and as the days passed, the world waited for clarity. Fans hoped for good news, but until that came, they were left to wonder about the true extent of Jay Leno's condition. Would the next report reveal that he was well on his way to recovery, or would the situation turn out to be much worse than anyone had imagined? The wait for answers was only growing, and with each passing moment, the curiosity about Jay Leno's health only intensified. When the news of Jay Leno's accident first emerged, fans quickly began to worry about more than just the incident itself. They began to think about Jay's overall health, which has been an important part of his life and career. Jay Leno, the iconic comedian and TV host, is often seen as a symbol of energy, resilience, and vitality. He's always been someone who seems larger than life, but this accident brought his vulnerability to the forefront. For the first time, people were forced to consider the possibility that his health might be in serious jeopardy, something many had never thought possible. This made people ask, was Jay Leno's health in danger beyond the accident? Could this incident be the beginning of a bigger struggle for him? Jay Leno is known for being incredibly active, especially for someone his age. He has always been in great shape, often seen working on cars, performing stand-up comedy, and traveling for work. His energy and enthusiasm for life have been key parts of his public persona. This is what made his recent accident so unsettling. Fans were used to seeing Jay as someone who never seemed to slow down, but now they were left questioning, was this accident just a freak event, or was it a sign that Jay's body could no longer handle the strain he'd put on it over the years? For those who have followed Jay Leno's career for years, this was a difficult reality to face. Many knew that Jay had been through some health issues in the past. There had been times when he had to take a step back due to exhaustion or stress. But this accident was different. It wasn't just about his usual busy schedule catching up with him. This was something far more immediate and serious. Could this accident have been the result of health issues that were brewing beneath the surface? Was Jay's body trying to tell him that it was time to slow down? These are questions that fans couldn't help but ask. To make matters more complicated, Jay Leno's passion for cars had always been a huge part of his life. He's famous for his car collection, and he's been known to test out rare and expensive vehicles on a regular basis. Jay's love for automobiles sometimes led him to take risks, performing stunts or driving cars that pushed the limits of speed and performance. But was this accident somehow tied to his passion for cars? Could it be that Jay's body over time had simply grown tired of the physical demands that his love for cars required? The possibility that this accident was related to his physical limitations only deepened the concern about his overall health. Was this a one-time event, or was it an indication of a deeper issue? People began to wonder if Jay's health struggles were more significant than anyone had realized. Could the accident have been a result of physical exhaustion? Was Jay's body telling him it could no longer handle the intense physicality of his everyday life? These questions were natural, as they made people think about Jay's long-term well-being and what this accident might mean for his future. Adding to the worry was the fact that Jay had always pushed himself to keep working and performing. He's been known to work long hours, often traveling for shows and events, and his commitment to his career has always been unwavering. But could this relentless drive have taken a toll on his body? Was this accident a sign that Jay needed to take a break, both physically and mentally, in order to recover fully? It was hard to know, but the idea that Jay Leno, the person who had always been full of energy, could now be facing serious health struggles was a hard pill to swallow for many of his fans. Another aspect that added to the concern was Jay's age. Though he's known for his youthful energy, Jay is no longer a young man. As people age, their bodies inevitably become less resilient, and recovery from injuries becomes more difficult. Was this accident a reminder that age might finally be catching up to Jay? Was his body no longer able to recover as quickly as it once did? The idea that Jay Leno's health could be in decline due to the natural effects of aging made the situation even more serious. Fans couldn't help but wonder if this accident was a turning point in his life, marking the beginning of a new chapter in which his health would require even more attention and care. People also began to reflect on Jay's previous health struggles. Over the years, there had been reports of him working long hours and pushing himself to the limit. It wasn't just the car stunts or the constant traveling, it was his entire lifestyle. Jay had always been someone who gave everything to his career, but could it be that his body had finally had enough? Fans began to question whether this accident was simply a result of bad luck, or whether it was the culmination of years of physical stress and exhaustion. This brought up the larger question: how many times had Jay pushed himself too far, and how much longer could his body handle it? As the details of the accident became clear, it was evident that Jay's road to recovery would not be an easy one. The impact of the accident wasn't just physical, it was also emotional. Jay had spent his entire career being the source of laughter and joy for others. Now it was unclear when or if he would be able to return to that role. This wasn't just about his health, it was about the possibility that the world might not get to see Jay Leno in the same light ever again. Would he still be able to entertain and perform at the same level he once did? Would his love for cars and comedy still be a central part of his life, or had this accident changed things forever? The curiosity surrounding Jay's health only intensified as the world waited for more details. How serious were his injuries? How long would it take for him to recover? Was there a chance that Jay could return to the stage and the screen as the same high-energy, larger-than-life figure that everyone knew and loved? Or had this accident forced him to face the reality of his aging body and the limitations it brought? As fans, the questions were endless, and all anyone wanted were answers. But until those answers came, people could only wait and wonder what the future held for Jay Leno. As soon as Jay Leno's accident made headlines, the public's curiosity skyrocketed. Fans, friends, and the entire entertainment world wanted to know how serious his injuries were. The initial reports mentioned that his condition was stable, but that word alone did little to calm the rising tide of concern. What did stable actually mean? Was Jay going to make a full recovery, or was there a hidden danger beneath the surface? Everyone was left in suspense, waiting for updates from his doctors to clarify the situation. The first thing that people wanted to know was how the accident had affected Jay's health. Did he suffer any broken bones? Was he dealing with internal injuries, or was it more a case of bruising and minor injuries that would heal in a few weeks? No one had the answers. All the media reports mentioned was that Jay was stable and receiving medical attention. But stability could mean different things, and this left fans wondering if there was more to the story than they were being told. The lack of transparency only fueled the curiosity of the public, as they anxiously waited for his doctors to provide more details. As the days passed and no clear information emerged, many began to wonder if Jay's injuries were more serious than initially thought. Was there a delay in releasing the information to the public because doctors were still running tests or conducting procedures? The idea that Jay could be dealing with something more complicated than what was being revealed made people nervous. Could this accident have caused permanent damage, or was it a situation where Jay would bounce back quickly, as he always had before? The uncertainty grew with each passing hour, leaving fans hanging on the edge of their seats, hoping for an official update from his medical team. At the same time, the curiosity about Jay's condition was also tied to his public image. Jay Leno isn't just a famous TV host, he's a symbol of energy, wit, and strength. Fans have seen him as someone who can handle anything that comes his way. The thought of him in the hospital, injured and unable to work, seemed almost impossible. Could this accident truly be that serious? Fans and the media alike were desperate to hear from doctors who could shed light on the situation and give them a better idea of what to expect moving forward. When doctors did eventually speak out, the information they provided only added more layers to the mystery. It was confirmed that Jay Leno had sustained significant injuries, but the exact details of his condition remained unclear. Doctors stated that he was receiving excellent care, and that they were doing everything they could to ensure he had the best chance of a full recovery. But was there more to it than that? Were they holding back information? Was Jay's recovery going to be slower than expected? These were the burning questions everyone wanted answered. Jay's medical team stressed that his injuries would require careful monitoring, and that his recovery could take time. But this left many wondering, how long would it take? Would Jay be out of the public eye for weeks, months, or longer? And would he be able to return to his busy lifestyle and career once he healed? The idea that Jay Leno might not be able to get back to what he loves doing, whether it's performing, hosting, or working on cars, was hard for many people to grasp. Jay had always been so involved in his career, and so committed to his work, that the thought of him stepping back from it felt almost surreal. There were also concerns about how this accident would affect his ability to get back into the swing of things. Would the physical nature of his recovery interfere with his passion for working on cars or performing on stage? Could the accident have left him with lasting limitations? Doctors were careful not to speculate too much, but their comments left room for concern. If Jay had suffered injuries that required long-term physical therapy or surgeries, would he be able to bounce back the way he always had in the past? The uncertainty around this made the situation feel even more intense. One of the most pressing questions surrounding the medical side of the incident was how Jay would mentally handle his recovery. Jay Leno is known for his incredible work ethic and his constant drive to perform. Would this accident affect his mindset in ways people didn't anticipate? Could the emotional toll of being out of work for a long period of time have a lasting effect on his ability to get back to his normal routine? Doctors acknowledged that the psychological aspect of recovery could not be overlooked. Healing from an injury isn't just about physical recovery, it's also about mental resilience. Would Jay be able to stay positive during this challenging time, or would the emotional weight of the situation slow his recovery? As the public awaited more information, it became clear that this wasn't going to be a quick fix. Jay's recovery process was going to take time, and that time was filled with uncertainty. Doctors were optimistic but also cautious. The road to recovery was going to be a journey, and the full extent of Jay Leno's injuries might not be known for some time. Fans hoped for the best, but they couldn't help but feel the tension build as they waited for more updates. What was truly going on behind the hospital doors? Were Jay's doctors being fully transparent with the public, or were they withholding more information? These questions hung in the air as everyone waited for more details. The longer it took for Jay's doctors to give a full update, the more the mystery deepened. Fans weren't just curious about the specifics of his injuries, they wanted to know whether Jay would be able to continue with his career, his passion for cars, and his ability to make people laugh. These questions were not just about his health, they were about the future of Jay Leno and what his accident meant for his life moving forward. As time passed after Jay Leno's accident, fans began to hope for good news. The world had heard that Jay was stable, but the real question on everyone's mind was how long would it take for him to recover? Jay Leno was not just a famous comedian and TV host, he was someone who had spent decades in the spotlight, always giving his best to entertain and inspire. Now, after his accident, his fans were deeply invested in his recovery. Would Jay Leno return to his normal self? Or had his accident changed things forever? In the early days of his recovery, the reports were vague. There was talk of his injuries, but no one knew for sure how serious they were. Fans were left in suspense, wondering what Jay's future would look like. Would he ever be able to go back to performing, driving his beloved cars, or doing the things that had made him such an icon? This uncertainty created a growing sense of curiosity, with people eagerly awaiting any updates that would give them a clearer picture of Jay's recovery process. The road to recovery after any serious accident can be a long and difficult one. The body needs time to heal, and even if the physical injuries seem to improve, there can often be emotional challenges as well. This is especially true for someone like Jay Leno, who had spent his life being energetic, constantly on the go, and always entertaining people. To see him in a situation where he couldn't do those things was a new experience for his fans, and it raised questions about how he would handle this difficult period. As the days turned into weeks, people began to wonder what kind of challenges Jay might face during his recovery. Was he in pain? Was he feeling frustrated by the limitations that came with his injuries? Jay Leno is known for his strong will and determination, but could his drive to get back to work be pushing him too hard? Many fans feared that Jay might rush his recovery in order to get back to the spotlight, but recovery doesn't work that way. It's a process, and the body needs time to heal. The longer it took for Jay to make a full recovery, the more people began to worry about whether he would be able to return to the stage or his car collection in the same way he had before. One thing that became clear was that Jay's recovery wasn't going to be an easy or quick one. His accident had caused enough damage to slow him down for a while, and he would need time to heal physically. But beyond the physical healing, there was also the question of how long it would take for him to regain the mental energy and enthusiasm that had always fueled his career. For someone like Jay, who had always been driven by a love for what he did, this was likely to be a challenge. How would he stay motivated during his recovery? Would the isolation from his usual life affect his mindset? These questions hung over his recovery process, as fans couldn't help but wonder if Jay would ever be the same again. Despite the uncertainty, there was still hope. Jay Leno had always been someone who faced challenges head-on, whether it was hosting The Tonight Show for years or managing his massive collection of cars. He had the mental toughness to overcome obstacles, and his fans were holding on to the hope that this setback would be no different. But no one could be certain of how long it would take for Jay to get back on his feet. Would it be weeks, months, or could it take even longer for him to fully recover? As the recovery process continued, the public began to hear more about Jay's progress. His team released occasional updates, though they remained relatively vague. The most important thing that was made clear was that Jay was working hard on his recovery, and he was in good hands with the doctors and medical staff who were overseeing his treatment. But as always, the public wanted more. How was Jay feeling? Was he starting to regain strength? Was he able to do the things he loved, like working on cars or making people laugh? The updates were appreciated, but fans still hungered for more details. The emotional aspect of recovery is often overlooked, but it can be just as important as the physical healing. Jay Leno's career was built on his ability to make people laugh, to bring energy and excitement to any stage he stepped on. Without the ability to perform or engage with his fans in the usual way, there must have been a sense of frustration. How could Jay stay positive when everything he loved doing was temporarily out of reach? And what about his passion for cars? Was he able to work on his beloved vehicles, or was the physical toll of the accident keeping him away from the one thing he truly loved? For fans, this was a difficult time. Jay had been a constant presence in their lives for so long. Whether through his late-night hosting, his comedy specials, or his appearances in the world of cars, Jay had always been there. To think of him struggling with the physical and emotional toll of his accident was a tough pill to swallow. Fans wanted to know, would he ever return to the stage? Would he ever be the same Jay Leno who had so easily made them laugh? The road to recovery was filled with uncertainty, and every new update brought a mixture of hope and anxiety. During his recovery, Jay's resilience became even more apparent. While the accident had undoubtedly taken a toll on him, it was clear that he wasn't someone who would stay down for long. Jay's determination and love for life were his biggest assets as he worked through the pain and uncertainty. But there was still the question: how long would it take for Jay to return to his old self? Would he need to adjust his lifestyle? Would the demands of his career force him to push through even if he wasn't fully healed? In the end, Jay Leno's recovery process was a journey, and the world was watching. Fans were hoping for the best, but they also understood that recovery takes time. Jay's health was the priority, and while everyone was eager to see him back to doing what he loved, it was clear that he needed to take the time to heal properly. How long that would take, no one knew for sure. But with every update, the world was left wondering what the future would hold for the beloved comedian and car enthusiast. Would Jay Leno come back stronger than ever, or would this accident change everything about his future? Only time would tell, but for now, everyone was hoping for a full and speedy recovery. Jay Leno's accident brought not only concern about his health, but also the inevitable question about his future. Fans and industry experts alike were wondering how this incident would affect his career. For decades, Jay Leno has been one of the most recognizable figures in entertainment, known for his quick wit, undeniable charm, and his passion for comedy and cars. Now, after the accident, many were left wondering, would Jay Leno ever be able to perform in the same way again? Would his career be forever changed, or was this just a temporary setback? When you think of Jay Leno, you think of his time as the host of The Tonight Show. His late-night gig made him a household name and solidified him as one of the most successful TV hosts in history. His energy, humor, and ability to connect with people made him stand out from the rest. He was always on, always performing, and always ready with a joke or a quick quip. But after the accident, that persona was put on hold. The question that loomed over everyone's mind was, would Jay ever return to the stage with the same energy and presence he once had? Could his body and mind recover enough to give the audience the Jay Leno they remembered? It was impossible to ignore the possibility that Jay's career might be affected by this accident in ways that no one had anticipated. People began to speculate about whether his time as a TV host was over. After all, hosting a show like The Tonight Show requires not only wit and charisma but also a high level of energy. Could Jay Leno continue to bring that energy if his recovery took longer than expected? Was there a chance that the accident might cause him to reconsider his fast-paced lifestyle and decide to step away from the spotlight for good? It was a tough question, and no one could really say for sure. One of the key aspects of Jay's career that was impacted by this accident was his passion for cars. For those who know Jay, it's clear that cars aren't just a hobby, they are a central part of his life. His show Jay Leno's Garage gave fans an inside look at his impressive car collection, and he regularly shared his love for automobiles with the world. The idea that Jay might no longer be able to work on his cars, let alone drive them, was unsettling for many. Would his accident force him to step away from his beloved car collection? And if he couldn't get back to working on cars, what would that mean for his brand and his career? Would people still see him as the car enthusiast they loved, or would his career shift in a new direction? Even if Jay Leno recovered fully, there was still the question of whether the entertainment industry would be the same for him. Jay had been a prominent figure in late-night television for many years, but things were constantly changing in Hollywood. New shows, new faces, and new forms of entertainment were always emerging. Would Jay still have a place in this rapidly evolving world? Could he adapt to the changes in the industry, or would the accident have caused him to step back and reevaluate his role in it? This was a question that no one could answer just yet, and it was something Jay himself would have to figure out during his recovery. Another factor to consider was the physical toll of the accident. Even if Jay was able to return to work, would he be able to perform at the level he once did? Hosting a late-night show or performing stand-up comedy isn't just about talking into a microphone. It requires stamina, physical energy, and a mental sharpness that can only come from years of experience. After an accident, it's hard to know if someone will be able to pick up where they left off. Would Jay Leno be able to regain the stamina and drive that made him such a powerhouse in the entertainment world? Fans hoped that he would, but there was no way to know for sure. The idea that Jay Leno's accident could cause him to change the course of his career was a difficult thought for many to process. For so long, he had been synonymous with late-night television and the world of cars. Could he reinvent himself in a way that would keep his fans interested? Or would the accident mark the end of an era for him, one where Jay Leno would no longer be the star he once was? These were questions that lingered in the minds of everyone who had followed his career for years. No matter how much they hoped for a quick recovery, they knew that the road ahead could be a long one, and Jay might have to face new challenges in his career that he never expected. As fans continued to wonder about the impact of the accident on his career, it was clear that Jay Leno had made an incredible mark on the entertainment industry. He had carved out a unique space for himself with his humor, his passion for cars, and his ability to connect with people from all walks of life. His career had spanned decades, and his influence was undeniable. But now with this accident, it seemed like everything was uncertain. Would Jay return to the spotlight, or would this be the event that finally slowed him down? Would he find new ways to entertain his fans, or would the demands of recovery force him to take a step back? Jay's fans were hoping for a quick recovery, but they also understood that nothing in the world of entertainment is ever guaranteed. Jay had always been a fighter, and his resilience was something that had earned him the respect and admiration of millions. But would his recovery be fast enough to allow him to return to his place in the industry, or would the accident change the trajectory of his career forever? As the world waited for updates, one thing was clear: Jay Leno's future was full of possibilities, but it was also filled with uncertainty. Whether he would be able to return to the stage, keep up with the fast pace of his career, or move in a different direction remained to be seen. And as much as everyone hoped for the best, no one knew what the future would hold for the legendary comedian, car enthusiast, and TV host. Only time would reveal what the next chapter of his career would look like.